I never thought I'd end up here. 64 years old, 3 days post-open heart surgery, staring at my phone screen, realizing my own son had blocked my number. The nurse had just told me I was being discharged in 2 hours. 2 hours to figure out how a man with a cracked open chest and an apartment 40 miles away was supposed to get home. Alone. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be abandoned. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. Sometimes, that's where miracles find you. And what happened next wasn't just a miracle, it was the sweetest revenge imaginable. This is the story of how a $50 act of kindness from 35 years ago came back to save my life and hand me an inheritance worth hundreds of millions of dollars. My name is Thomas Reeves. For 37 years, I was a postal carrier in Columbus, Ohio. Rain, snow, heat waves, I walked those routes until my knees gave out and my back couldn't take it anymore. I retired at 62 with a pension that barely covered rent and groceries, but I was proud because I'd raised my son Marcus alone after my wife Sarah died when he was just 7. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, wore the same jacket for 15 years. Every extra dollar went to Marcus's future. And it worked. Marcus got into Ohio State, then law school, then landed a job at a big corporate firm downtown. He married Vanessa, a lifestyle consultant, which meant she spent other people's money on things nobody needed. They lived in a house with more bathrooms than I had rooms in my entire apartment. Was I proud? Absolutely. But success changes people. The visits became less frequent. Birthday calls got shorter. Christmas became a text with a gift card to a restaurant I couldn't afford. But I made excuses. He's busy. He's successful. Then came the chest pains. One Tuesday morning, I collapsed in my building's parking lot. My neighbor found me and called 911. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it. Triple bypass surgery, within a week, or you might not make it to 65. So I called Marcus. It took him 6 hours to call back. When he did, I could barely hear him over the noise, voices, laughter, clinking glasses. "Dad, this is really bad timing. Vanessa and I are at a charity gala. Can I call you tomorrow?" "Dad, I'm in the hospital. They're saying I need heart surgery." Pause. "What? When?" "Friday. I'm scared, son. I need you here." Long silence. "Friday. Dad, I have a deposition. It's been scheduled for months. I can't just—" "Marcus, please." "I might die." "You're not going to die, Dad. You're tough. Look, I'll try to visit over the weekend after the surgery, okay?" He didn't visit. He sent a text the day of my surgery. "Good luck, Dad. You've got this." That was it. The surgery was terrifying. They cracked open my chest, and when I woke up, the pain was everywhere. But worse than physical pain, the emptiness. I was in a recovery room with 3 other patients, all with families crowded around their beds, wives, children, grandchildren. My bed? Just machines beeping and a view of the parking garage. On the 3rd day, Nurse Patricia came in. "Mr. Reeves, you're being discharged this afternoon. Who's picking you up?" "I'll figure it out." She looked at me over her glasses. "You just had open heart surgery. You can't drive. You can't lift anything. You need someone at home for at least a week." "My son, but he's busy." She'd heard that before. "I'll see what I can do." I lay there, feeling humiliated. 64 years old, couldn't even arrange a ride home. That's when Dr. Morrison walked in, the cardiac surgeon who'd performed my operation. Late 60s, silver hair, calming presence. "Mr. Reeves, how are you feeling?" Like someone cracked open my chest. He smiled. "That's accurate. I did, and I put it back together quite nicely." He paused. "Patricia tells me you're having trouble arranging a ride home. You live alone, 40 miles from here. No family support. I'll manage." "You cannot go home alone. You need proper care or you risk serious complications." "I can't afford a nursing facility." He leaned back. "I have a suggestion. It's unconventional. I have a large house, more space than I need since my wife passed. I have a full-time nurse on staff. What if you stayed with me for 2 weeks, just until you're stable?" I stared at him. "I'm sorry, what? Why would you offer that?" He walked to the window. "Do you remember working the Riverside route about 35 years ago?" "I worked that route for almost 10 years. Why?" "Building 447 on Maple Street, January 1989, coldest winter in 20 years. A young medical student lived on the 3rd floor, poor, working nights at a gas station to pay tuition." My chest tightened. "One day, he found an envelope in his mailbox, $500 in cash and a note. 'Keep going. Someone believes in you.'" That was 35 years ago. How do you... "I was that medical student, Mr. Reeves. That $500 paid for my textbooks and groceries. More importantly, it came when I was ready to quit. That note kept me going." He turned to face me. "I didn't know who sent it until 2 weeks ago when I reviewed your file. Thomas Reeves, postal carrier, Riverside route. I went through my old journals and confirmed it. I'd done that a few times over the years, left money for people who were struggling, never wanted credit. I'd forgotten most of them. When Patricia told me you had no one, I saw an opportunity to repay a 35-year-old debt." "It wasn't a debt." "I know, but I'm offering anyway. 2 weeks. Let me help you recover." Pride almost made me refuse, but I was exhausted and terrified of being alone. "Okay, thank you." That afternoon, his driver, Robert, picked me up in a Mercedes worth more than I'd earned in my career. 20 minutes later, we arrived at James's house. It wasn't just big, it was a mansion. 3 stories, stone facade, gardens requiring a full-time staff. Inside, Nurse Helen showed me to a guest room larger than my entire apartment. "No stairs, bathroom right there. I'll check on you 3 times a day." The room had a fireplace. In a guest room? James appeared in the doorway. "Everything all right?" "This is too much." "It's a room I'm not using. Consider it yours for 2 weeks. Now rest." That night, I couldn't sleep. The pain, yes. Being in a stranger's house, yes. But mostly I thought about Marcus, who couldn't visit me in the hospital, who'd blocked my number. Around midnight, footsteps. A soft knock. James entered in a robe. "Saw your light was on. Can't sleep?" "Just thinking." He sat down. "About your son?" "I gave him everything, worked myself half to death, and now that I need him, he's just gone." James was quiet. "In 30-plus years as a cardiac surgeon, I've learned something. The patients who recover best aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with people who show up. The body heals better when the heart isn't broken. My heart's literally broken. We fixed the physical part, but the other kind takes longer. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us aren't capable of it, not because they failed us, but because they've lost something essential. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of recovery and kindness. Helen managed my medications, Robert drove me to appointments, Maria, the cook, made real food, not frozen dinners. But beyond the care, there was companionship. James stopped by every evening. We talked about books, politics, life, regrets. He introduced me to friends who treated me like I belonged. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I felt valued. 10 days in, Marcus finally called. Helen knocked during lunch. "Mr. Reeves, your son." My hands shook. "Marcus?" "Hey, Dad, sorry I haven't checked in. Work's been crazy. How are you feeling?" "I'm recovering. I had major surgery, Marcus. Where have you been?" "Work. Look, Vanessa and I want to visit. Maybe this Sunday?" Something felt off. "How did you get this number?" "Called the hospital. They transferred me." "Dad, where are you? Why aren't you at home?" "I'm staying with a friend during recovery." "What friend? You don't have friends with—" He stopped, but the implication was clear. "You don't have friends with money." "A friend who actually showed up when I needed help." Pause. "Dad, don't be dramatic. I was busy. You're fine, right? So what's the big deal?" "The big deal?" He was asking what the big deal was? "The address is 4782 Lakeshore Drive, Sunday at 2. "Lakeshore? That's— Dad, whose house—" I hung up. James appeared in the doorway. "Your son?" "He wants to visit Sunday. First time he's checked on me." James sat down. "Let me guess. He became available when he found out where you're staying." "How did you know?" "Because I've seen it before. People who disappear during crises reappear when they think there's something to gain." He paused. "Thomas, I had my attorney check. Your son's in serious financial trouble. His firm's losing clients. He took out a second mortgage. His wife's spending is out of control. They're one payment from collapse." My stomach dropped. "Why would you—" "Because I wanted to know who abandoned my friend. Thomas, I think your son's coming because someone told him you're staying with Dr. James Morrison, chief of cardiology, one of the wealthiest doctors in the state." "You think he's after money?" "I think he's desperate, and desperate people make calculated choices." "He's my son. He wouldn't." "I hope you're right, but I've arranged for my attorney to be here Sunday, just in case." Sunday came. I was nervous, wanting to believe Marcus was genuinely concerned. The doorbell rang at 2 o'clock. Marcus's voice in the foyer too loud, too cheerful. "Wow, this is quite a place." He appeared in the living room doorway and stopped. I sat in James' leather chair. James stood by the fireplace. Marcus's expression cycled through surprise, recognition, then calculation. "Dr. Morrison, from Columbus General." "Marcus Reeves, I've heard a lot about you." Vanessa appeared, dressed for a country club. Her eyes swept the room, artwork, antiques, obvious wealth. "Oh my God," she whispered to Marcus. "This is Dr. Morrison. The Dr. Morrison." Marcus recovered, shaking James's hand too vigorously. "I can't thank you enough for taking care of my father. When Dad said he was staying with a friend, I had no idea." "Your father and I go back many years," James said. "We do?" I asked, confused. "Remember that envelope, Thomas? 1989. James explained the story, the money, the note, how it kept him going through medical school. I watched Marcus's face. He wasn't listening like a son hearing about his father's kindness. He was listening like a lawyer evaluating an asset. Marcus stood. "Dr. Morrison, could we speak privately about Dad's care plan?" James glanced at me. I nodded. They left. Immediately, Vanessa pulled out her phone, photographing the living room. "Vanessa, what are you doing? Do you know who Dr. Morrison is? He's on the board of 3 hospitals. He owns medical buildings statewide. Thomas, your dad is staying with someone worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is an opportunity." He's my father's friend, not a business opportunity. Everything's a business opportunity if you approach it right. In James's study, Marcus closed the door. Dr. Morrison, I'll be direct. My father's not doing well financially. His pension barely covers rent. He's got medical bills that'll bury him. I'm aware. So here's what I'm thinking. You clearly care about my dad. What if he stayed here permanently? You get companionship, he gets security. Everyone wins. James steepled his fingers. What about you? Where do you fit in? Well, I'm his son. I'd need to be involved in major decisions, power of attorney, to protect Dad's interests. His interests or yours? You disappeared when your father needed you most. Now you're proposing an arrangement giving you legal control over his affairs, positioning you as an intermediary between your father and a wealthy man. Marcus's face reddened. You don't know anything about... I know he called you from the hospital terrified and you were at a gala. I know he spent 3 days post-surgery with no visitors. I know he couldn't get a ride home because your son blocked his number. I also know about your financial situation, the firm's troubles, the second mortgage, your wife's spending. Should I continue? Marcus stood. You had no right. Sit down, Marcus. Something in James's tone made him sit. James pulled out a folder. I'm making you a one-time offer. He slid it across the desk. That's a check for $50,000. It'll cover your immediate debts. Marcus opened it, hands trembling. There are conditions. First, this money is for genuine necessities, not your wife, not maintaining an unaffordable lifestyle. Second, you will repair your relationship with your father, not because he's staying with a wealthy man, because he's your father. Third, you will never ask him or me for money again. This is a one-time bailout based on your father's kindness to me, not your worthiness. Marcus stared at the check. Why would you do this? Because your father would want me to help you. Even after everything, he still loves you. I'm doing this for him, not you. And if I don't accept it, you leave with nothing, and I'll make sure your firm knows exactly why you suddenly have interest in your father's welfare. I know 3 senior partners personally. Marcus's face went white. He looked at the check, then James, then back. I need to think about it. You have until you walk out that door. After that, the offer expires. They returned to the living room. Vanessa jumped up. Well, what did you talk about? Nothing important, Marcus said. He looked at me. Dad, can we talk alone? We went to the garden. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Dad, I'm sorry. For what specifically? For not being there. For the hospital. For not visiting. For everything. Why weren't you there, Marcus? Really? He sat on a stone bench. Because I was ashamed. Of failing. Dad, I'm not the success you think I am. The firm's struggling. I made bad investments. Vanessa spends money faster than I can make it. We're drowning in debt, and I couldn't face you, the man who sacrificed everything. I couldn't admit I'd screwed it all up. So you just disappeared? I know it was cowardly. I told myself I'd visit after I got things under control, but things never got under control. And when I found out where you were staying, I thought... He stopped. You thought you could use me, use my connection to James. He nodded, not meeting my eyes. Yeah, and Dr. Morrison just offered me $50,000 to help with my debts. Are you going to take it? I don't know. The conditions are fair, but hard. He wants me to fix our relationship, to actually be your son again. And you don't think you can? I don't know if I deserve to. I abandoned you when you needed me most. I sat beside him, chest aching. Marcus, when your mother died, I didn't think I could go on, but I had you, and I made a choice. I could wallow in grief, or be the father you needed. So I chose you. Every single day, I chose you." I looked at him. "You failed me, Marcus. You hurt me more than I knew I could be hurt. But you're still my son. And if you want to repair this, if you want to actually try, not because James is making you, but because you want to, then I'm here." Marcus started crying. Real tears. "I'm so sorry, Dad." I put my arm around him. "I know. Now what are you going to do about it?" Marcus took James' offer. At the door, an hour later, he hugged me carefully. "I'll call you tomorrow. A real call. Is that okay?" "That's okay." After they left, James found me in the garden. "How are you feeling?" "Honestly? Hopeful? Scared? Both." Both is appropriate. "Thomas, I need to tell you something. That money I gave Marcus, it came with another condition I didn't mention." "What?" "The check won't clear for 6 months. If he doesn't follow through on repairing our relationship, it bounces. He'll have spent 6 months thinking he had a safety net, only to discover he never did." I stared. That's ruthless. That's accountability. If he wants the money, he earns it by being a son. If he can't do that, he doesn't deserve help. Over the next 3 months, Marcus called every Tuesday and Thursday. At first, conversations were awkward, but slowly it got easier. He told me about work, his fears, therapy he'd started, conversations with Vanessa about their spending. He visited every other Sunday, sometimes with Vanessa, sometimes alone. We'd have lunch, talk, walk in the garden. James and I had fallen into a comfortable routine. I'd stayed past my 2-week recovery, then a month, then 2. One evening, James asked if I'd consider staying permanently. "Thomas, I have more space than I need and more money than I can spend. You have companionship to offer. Why not make this official? Stay. Live here, not as a guest, as family." I thought about my apartment. Leaky ceiling, thin walls, loneliness. Then I thought about the last 2 months. Conversations over breakfast, watching movies together, having someone who wanted me around. "Okay, on one condition, I pay rent." "Don't be ridiculous." "I'm serious. $300 a month from my pension." James laughed. "Thomas, my property taxes are more than your annual pension. $300 a month or I'm not staying." He sighed. "You're the most stubborn man I've ever met." "Fine, I'll donate it to charity in your name." 6 months after Marcus took James' check, I got a call from James' attorney. "Mr. Reeves, I wanted to inform you that Marcus's check cleared today. All conditions were met." Marcus had done it. For 6 months he'd shown up, been present, tried. And he didn't know the check was contingent on that behavior. He'd done it because he wanted to, not because he had to. That Sunday when Marcus arrived, I told him, "You knew? The whole time?" James told me after you left that first day." "And you didn't say anything?" "Would it have mattered? Would you have behaved differently?" He thought about it. "Honestly, probably not. I needed to do this for me, for us." "Dad, Vanessa and I are making changes, real changes. We sold the house in Upper Arlington, got something smaller, more manageable. She's actually working now as an actual consultant, not a lifestyle one. We're in couples therapy. It's hard, but it's good. I'm proud of you." "Don't be. Not yet. I'm just trying to be the son you deserved all along." A year after my surgery, James and I were having breakfast when he said, "I need to tell you something. I'm revising my will." I set down my coffee. "James, no, we've talked about this." "Hear me out. I have distant relatives who'll get trust funds, but the bulk of my estate, the house, the medical buildings, the investments, I'm leaving to you. Absolutely not. That's insane. It's my choice. Thomas, you saved my life 35 years ago with $500 and a note. Now I've gotten to spend this year with you, sharing my home with someone who genuinely cares, who asks how my day was, who watches terrible television with me. You've given me something I thought I'd lost when Margaret died. Family. I don't want your money, James. Good, because I'm not leaving it to you for the money. I'm leaving it to you because you'll use it the way it should be used. You'll help people quietly, the way you always have. I started crying. You're not dying, are you? I'm 71 with a pacemaker. I'm not dying tomorrow, but I'm not living forever. And I want to know everything I've built will go to someone who understands what really matters. James lived another 8 years. Good years. He retired from surgery but stayed on as a consultant. We traveled Europe, Japan, Australia. We hosted Marcus and Vanessa for holidays. We watched as they had a daughter they named Sarah after my late wife. When James finally passed peacefully in his sleep at 79, it felt like losing a brother. The funeral was enormous. Hundreds of former patients, colleagues, friends. Marcus stood next to me throughout. At one point he whispered, "He changed both our lives, didn't he?" Yeah, he did. The will reading was simple. James had left generous trust funds to his nieces and nephews, donations to medical charities, and everything else, the house, the medical buildings, the investments, to me. The total value was staggering, more money than I'd earn in 100 lifetimes. James' attorney handed me an envelope. "Dr. Morrison asked me to give you this." I opened it. Inside was a note in James' handwriting. "Thomas, 35 years ago, you gave me $500 and a note that said, 'Someone believes in you.' You'll never know how many times I reread that note during hard days, how many times it kept me going. I'm leaving you everything because I believe in you. I believe you'll use this wealth the way I tried to help people, to make a difference, to be kind when no one's watching. But more than that, I'm leaving it to you because you taught me something important. Family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. It's about choosing someone every day. You showed up for me when I needed it most. You chose me. And these last 8 years have been the best of my life. Use the money well. Help people. And every now and then, leave an envelope in someone's mailbox. Some medical student somewhere is struggling. Be their miracle. With love and gratitude, James." I stood there crying, holding this note from a man who'd become my brother. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. "You okay, Dad?" "Yeah, I'm okay. I still live in James's house, my house now, though it'll never feel like mine. Marcus visits every Sunday with Sarah. She calls me Grandpa Tom and asks me to tell her stories about Great Uncle James. I've set up a foundation in James' name that provides grants to medical students from difficult backgrounds. Every student who receives a grant also receives an envelope with a note. Someone believes in you. Keep going. I've left anonymous envelopes in mailboxes all over the city, usually $500, sometimes more. I'll never know whose lives they change, but I hope somewhere someone is holding one of those notes at their darkest moment and finding reason to continue. Because that's what James taught me. That's what my wife Sarah taught me. That's what I'm finally teaching Marcus. We save each other. Not with grand gestures or public declarations, but with small acts of kindness when no one's watching. My son almost lost me, but he found me again, and in finding me, he found himself. I almost lost everything, but I found something better, a brother, a family, a purpose. all because I collapsed in a parking lot and a cardiac surgeon recognized my name from an envelope he received 35 years ago. Life is strange that way. The smallest kindnesses echo across decades. The people you save might save you back. And family, real family, is built not from blood, but from choice. Every single day we choose. And that makes all the difference.